Florida lawmakers have taken a break from their legislative session, which was supposed to be wrapped up last Friday. Legislators haven't delivered a budget yet or ironed out proposals to reduce taxes, so legislators have extended the session and they'll get back to work on Monday. Still, lawmakers have already approved multiple new pieces of legislation. To help us understand the significance and impact of the measures that passed and didn't, we are joined by Dr. Sandra Pavelka, a professor of political science here at Florida Gulf Coast University, and John Davis, host and reporter here at WGCU. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Hi. So I'd like to start with fluoride because it impacts so many folks. As of July 1st, Florida will ban fluoride from its drinking water. The governor said he's going to sign this measure. Floridians are really getting mixed messages on fluoride right now. Correct, John?
Absolutely. And this is even just some insider baseball has led to some editorial conversations within WGCU's newsroom about how we responsibly cover this. Because you have DeSantis and other supporters of this idea of banning fluoride, characterizing it as a medicine, as a chemical, it's none of those things. It's a naturally occurring mineral. The Florida Dental Association notes that it reduces cavities in adults and children by 25%. When municipal water systems are fluoridated. And this is part of a bigger trend. A lot of counties and local municipalities have already preemptively done this before the state law. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., HHS Secretary, is against fluoridation of water. Again, it's part of a larger trend, but at the same time, it's not really following what we know about peer-reviewed science in terms of the concerns about how it could impact the cognitive development in children. Certainly not in the low levels that it is fluoridated in municipal water systems.
Right. I want to jump now to the constitutional amendment process. So Governor DeSantis signed a law saying that essentially creating new hurdles for these citizen drive initiatives. How significant is the impact?
Well, there are additional elements that are added now to the citizen-led initiatives and amendment process. One being additional information is now being mandated, where the individual who's signing the petition has to include further information on themselves. Second, there are no public funding mechanisms that can be used for either pro or against a constitutional amendment, as has been done in the past. And then also there are increased penalties and kind of a tighter timeline with regard to the entire process. So there's a lot of additional information and penalties in case those individuals violate any of these procedures.
The one, go ahead, John, you were going to jump in on that.
Yeah, I just know DeSantis has already signed this into law. He signed it into law Friday, the last scheduled day of the session. And it's already gotten a legal challenge from a group called Florida Decides Healthcare. They want to put a ballot amendment on the 2026 ballot that would require Medicaid expansion. This is something the legislature has refused to do for years and years. I mean, going back to when the Affordable Care Act originally became the law of the land. And they've already got some, I think, 100,000 petition signatures. So they have quite a long way to go, but they're on their way.
The big one that we've been following was condo affordability and safety. That was passed. How is this legislation expected to help condo owners?
Well, it's going to provide more financial relief and flexibility for these condo owners who are now so cost constrained by laws that have been passed since the Champlain Towers South collapse in 2021, where 98 people died. So this is actually the relief that some of these condo owners, particularly seniors on fixed incomes, had been looking for, but this is not done. Senator Chevron Jones has already said that he's sure that they're going to come back and work on this some more. So this was just kind of a first step in what is going to be a multi-year process.
Yeah, and actually this is very timely because there was also an incident, I believe this recently, in Clearwater. So this is something that just because we have aging buildings here in Florida, aging condos, that needs to really be addressed. And there has to be some alleviation of the cost burden onto many of these. Like you said, a lot of the condo owners are retired and fixed income. And so
struggling,
they really need to have some type of assistance.
Yeah, some
financial. And it's also having a really negative impact on the condo market. People aren't able to sell.
Let's switch gears now and talk about students. School start times were actually supposed to be later this year, but that's changed now, correct?
So this measure actually had passed previously, but this bill was a repeal of that previous legislation. The school districts just found it very costly to implement this, and it became more of an unfunded mandate on those school districts.
Students and cell phones.
So currently under state law, cell phone use by students is banned during instructional time, but lawmakers have passed a bill that basically bans kids from being on their phones throughout the school day in elementary and middle schools. Now for high schools, they're going to actually create a pilot program where 6 districts, 2 small, 2 middle, and 2 large, are going to be chosen to participate in this program where they just kind of ban cell phone use by high school students throughout the day. The Department of Education is going to determine which districts are part of that pilot project, and so we don't know who's going to be involved in that just yet.
Let's now jump to the big ones that did not pass, the measures that didn't pass, and let's start first with the open carry of firearms, Dr. Pavelka.
So the legislature has actually brought this back after every year it seems to come back on their radar. The Florida Sheriff's Association has been adamantly opposed to this bill for years. We're only one out of 4 states in the country that don't mandate or don't allow open carry. So this is very interesting, but it did not pass, and certainly that has gone back to kind of a more non-restrictive element.
And of course, the recent shooting at the Florida State University campus in the same city where lawmakers were meeting certainly played a role in making those gun bills less popular.
John, you and I have talked about the child labor law rollbacks. That did not pass.
It did not, yeah. So they were looking to make it easier for employers to schedule 16 and 17-year-olds to work kind of unlimited hours and days without breaks, even during the school year, even when they had class the next day. In some instances, even 13-year-olds would have been allowed to work over the summer. This was really seen as a possible way to sort of fill the labor shortage being created by mass deportations from the Trump administration. But it just didn't go over well with the majority of lawmakers. And, this was opposed by a number of groups, including the Florida AFL-CIO, the NAACP, the ACLU, and even the Florida Policy Institute. They pointed to U.S. Department of Labor data showing Florida already has the second highest number of recorded child labor violations. And so they just didn't really think that this was a good move.
Absolutely.
The one mandated job that the legislature was supposed to get done during the session hasn't happened yet, so they have to reconvene. John, what is that? Still lots of work to do, correct?
Yeah, so lawmakers have this week off. They get to spend Mother's Day weekend at home, but they're going to be back in Tallahassee next week. Of course, they have to hammer out that budget by July 1st. The House and Senate proposals are still quite a bit far apart, and they're also going to be working on some of the bills that just didn't quite get passed by last Friday. This includes the Rural Renaissance Bill, which had been a priority of Senate President Ben Albritton, and this is to provide more opportunities to the less populated rural areas of the state. So that's one of the things they'll be revisiting. Also, we see more of that clash between Governor DeSantis and legislative leaders and what lawmakers are going to be taking up. House Speaker Perez is going to be convening a special committee to look at property tax reduction. DeSantis has been a proponent of eliminating property taxes in Florida. But DeSantis this week has come down on Perez, saying the select committee is a dog and pony show, and it's signaling that they're not really going to do anything on that front. Perez is more into reducing the state's sales tax rate. But at the same time, Perez is telling DeSantis, well, if you want to eliminate property taxes, you have to give us some sort of plan for how state and local governments would make up for that massive amount of lost revenue. And we haven't heard anything from the governor's office about that.
And that's the big question. So if they take away these funds from, especially from local governments, how are they going to make that up to actually have these services that are so necessary to the citizens of our state?
Still lots to come. So we'll be watching. We so appreciate your analysis. Thank you, Dr. Pavelka and John.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. We've got more great content for you, from news to the arts to the environment. So be sure to like and subscribe to WGCU's YouTube channel and follow us on our social media platforms for the stories that matter to you.